Hello, everybody, and happy premiere day for Traitors US Season 3. We're going to have a fun time tonight, but before we get there, we got another podcast coming your way right here, right now. I'm, of course, your host, the Duke of Deception, Pooya Vakili, ready to talk about not one, but two of the remaining cast members of this season. And in order to do that, I brought two guests in to break that down because you may not know this. These two cast members require a lot of insight. Okay, so joining us here, I'm gonna fondly call them the Down the Hatch boys. Okay, first off, we got
the
Josh
Lost
Wigler, the Lost. I mean, that was right there, but
I think it's like a literal podcast.
Yeah.
Should I strip off my shirt and grab a saxophone right now while we're making the references?
As if you needed a reason.
Do we do that on Down the Hatch?
No, but isn't that the weird, like, Uncanny Valley site from the Lost Boys was the random guy with the mullet who was playing saxophone shirtless?
Yeah, okay, sure. I guess I was thinking Peter Pan and you went full Kiefer Sutherland vampire.
How could I not? That's what that's basically like...
Usually that's my move, so
yeah.
My bad.
I try to A to C everything back to Kiefer Sutherland Lost Boys.
Look, Pooya, I know why you brought Mike Bloom and I onto this one.
Please enlighten me.
It's because we're the little lords.
Oh.
We're the little lords. We're royals. We're both tangentially related to British royalty.
Mm-hmm.
My mother's side of the family, they used to tell me, they used to brag about this. Like, you know, we've got Richard the Lionheart in our ancestry tree. And I was like, the dude from Robin Hood? And they're like, yeah, that's the one. So technically, I'm a Lionheart.
And for me, and this is a 100% true story, before my grandmother passed away, probably going on about nearly a decade at this point, she told us numerous times that during a particular stint in the 1970s, she carried on an affair and almost moved to the UK to be with Michael Caine. And so maybe British royalty in a different way, in a different universe, I could have been Mike Caine. I guess, I don't know, maybe I'm named after him?
Whoa!
I might have thinking, the more I'm thinking about this.
Are we just finding out that Mike Bloom is named after Mike Caine?
My would-have-been step-grandfather?
Yeah. Listen, color me speechless. It's the first time in these.
I thought I regrets 2.5 minutes on bringing Josh and I out to
I was like, whoa, Richard the Lionheart. Let's humble brag about that. Here comes Mike Bloom being like, my grandma boned Mike Caine. My grandma was doing it with Michael Caine.
He one-upped you immediately. Let's immediately look at that. No, the minute you start talking, Josh, I queued up a joke in my head of like, yeah, you're only royals in the context of Lord, in that you're not royals, you'll never be royals. And then both of you came in with credentials. Okay, I'm Persian. We used to have an empire. Okay, how about that? We used to have an empire.
It's true.
So
it's true.
Hold that.
Yeah. I think we're all royalty in our own right here. And I think like everyone on RHAP has some sort of claim to royalty, as we're part of a podcast empire.
It's true. And I am the Duke of Deception.
That's it. Exactly. Yeah, I really want to spend like a tight 5 on Pooya's pre-podcast treacherous hijinks. But
so good. It was so good. But
can I just very quickly recap it?
Do it.
So we record these on the video version. You could watch them on the RHAP video version. Mike Bloom's doing a little spaghetti dance. He's like one of those things at the car dealership that's just going
inflatable people.
Yeah, just like whipping around. And so on StreamYard, there's like this new feature where like you can say like what your like job title is.
Yeah, a little bit like a Survivor lower third.
Yeah, lower third. We're like adding a little extra, like how many immunity idols do you have? Like you have a little bit of that lower third here, and it defaults to EG, founder of Creativity Incorporated. And I was like, oh, I don't want to be that. So I changed it to something else. And then every like 5 seconds, it was reverting back to the EG, founder of Creativity Inc. And I was like, Mike, what are you doing? Sam Moore, behind the scenes. Is this you? Who's responsible for this? It's freaking Pooya. Pooya, you were doing it the whole time. I really thought it was just like some sort of glitch. And it turns out Pooya's the traitor.
I mean, I think this was a perfect exercise of a combination of Pooya's incredibly very particular set of skills, and that as someone who has been covering the Traitors Worldwide franchise for the past few years, since it really blew up into prominence, combined with your enthusiasm for just trolling people, it has really brewed into this fantastic, concentrated structure that he was able to get Josh with for a good portion of time.
You're at the peak of your powers.
What if I told you that I didn't do it, but I saw the panic that was setting in you and I wanted you to feel calm? So I lied.
No.
And it was a technical glitch.
You ready for this? That would be so Traitors Season 1 Christian of you.
Woo!
Oh, you have references?
I got references.
to show up and say the Traitors tried to recruit me, but I said no. Said the traitor to give himself extra cover. That's right, folks. He watched Season 1.
He did his homework.
He watched the inferior American season.
Yeah.
So there.
I was talking to you the other day, Pooya, about like, okay, coming onto the podcast, like how much of this should I, like, I've seen Season 1 now. Should I watch Season 2? And I didn't get a chance to take you up on your advice yet, but I will. You said like, go to the UK. Like, go to the UK because like a lot of the normies, like that seems to be the thing that people dig.
Yeah, I mean, listen, my start on Traitors was, first of all, when I saw the premise of the show out there, I messaged Rob and I was like, this is built for me, please. Like, if we do this, I want to be there. And then what got me to like drop everything and start watching was actually a Mike Bloom tweet in that it was like, I think episode 4 of UK he had watched. And he tweeted that, I was like, y'all need to watch this. It is the best episode of reality TV this year. And I was like, you know what? Let me throw it down. And then here we are. I mean,
wait. You never told me this. I did not realize that my Aaron tweet was the gateway to you.
Well, so the thing is, at that point, the wheels were already spinning. Like, we were already committed to covering Traitors US Season 1. And I was going to watch UK Season 1, but your tweet expedited that. I was like, I'm watching it today.
So there's a direct line between Pooya being the host of the Traitors coverage here on RHAP, owing itself to Mike Bloom watching the Traitors UK, owing itself to your grandmother and Michael Caine not taking their relationship to the next level so that you could be born.
Owing to the 1980s film The Lost Boys, and we connect it back at the end of the day.
Wow.
So do you see now, audience, why I brought these two amazing brains here to talk about Dylan Efron and Lord Ivar Mountbatten? Do you see why they needed to be here?
I mean, these are by far the biggest X Factors and one of them is actually coming from a country where the X Factor began as a reality show. So very exciting. I mean, listen, you talk about how people love the civvies, the civilian versions of the Traitors. We kind of got the half and half in Season 1, and the US has kind of left behind that in favor of the more high camp, high drama of all reality stars and celebrities. And this is like perhaps the exception. I mean, some of them are, one of them is, I would say, celebrity adjacent. The other one is a celebrity in a very different regard. But listen, our boy John Corwin last year, also one of the most enigmatic people coming in, and proved to be an absolute delight. So I'm excited to break down maybe some other breakout stars.
Yeah, so my question is, which direction do we want to start with? Should we go through one of them first and then move into the next one? And if so, who would you like to kick it off with here today?
Well, we've been talking, we've been speaking the King's English for the last couple of minutes here. I feel like we should go to the aristocrats.
Yes. Oh, okay. So this family walks into a
Don't do it, Mike. No. Don't do the bit. Don't do the bit.
So we're talking Lord Ivar Mountbatten.
Who is this guy, Lord Ivar Mountbatten?
Well, I watched, I did a fair amount of diligent research for these two lovely gentlemen, and I think it's summed up fairly well by a video that I watched about Lord Ivar's Mountbatten, a very interesting romantic situation in history, which we can get into, by calling him the King's gay cousin.
The King's gay cousin.
And that is Lord Ivar Mountbatten in so many words.
Okay. Mike Bloom just briefly disappeared.
Yeah, I guess the royal family got rid of me after I mentioned it.
Oh my God, you're like, you're not supposed to out him. That's not cool behavior.
Well, I'm a little 8 years too late. So Lord Ivar Mountbatten. So he is, I believe he is the first cousin to Prince Philip.
Okay.
And so, of course, the late Prince Philip. And shares the same name with Lord, I believe, David Mountbatten, who was the uncle of Prince Philip. Those who watched The Crown might remember him. He was sort of like his mentor, played by Charles Dance on the series. And so Lord Ivar takes his name. And in 2016, he came out and was the first publicly gay member of the extended royal family.
Yeah, I was reading a Time article, I believe, about Lord Ivar Mountbatten, and he said something like, the article is like, he's the first openly gay member of the family, but apparently not the first. And like, it gives a quote from him being like, "Yeah, my grandma was a lesbian." Like, he's just like really getting into the family tree, kind of like us with Richard the Lionheart and Michael Caine. It's so interesting because like we've got 4 people from Survivor, like we've got like multiple reality TV people here, and then there are just like these couple of people where it's like his claim to fame is he's an aristocrat, like he's just like a British noble, and it seems like from what I've been able to gather that like Alan Cumming kind of like likes the guy a lot and thinks he's interesting, would be fun on the show. It's just so interesting, Pooya, that like of the normies, of the civvies that we're getting in the Traitors this season, like one of them is like one of the normal people is literal British royalty.
Right. Like in this realm, he's normal, but like in any other circle, we are the normals. Yeah, it's wild. Now for me, obviously, I would have to compare his presence here to the presence of one person who kind of took the round table by storm last season in John Burkow. In that, did they say, "Oh, we put one rogue British person on the cast"? Obviously, Ekin-Su was also there, but someone from government was there, and now they're like, how about someone from royalty being there? Or do you think there's like more personality here beyond just the casting?
I'm so glad you asked this, Pooya, because what if I were to tell you this was not the first reality show that Lord Ivar Mountbatten has been on?
Oh,
I would say you are the right person for this project because I've looked him up and did not see anything.
Okay, gentlemen, let us go back 5 years at this point. The world looked a lot different, but one thing was the same. Lord Ivar Mountbatten on reality television. In 2019, the 6th and final season of a series called The Island aired on, I believe it was Channel 4. It was rebranded for its final season as Treasure Island.
Ooh.
This was a show hosted by Bear Grylls. And in its first 5 seasons, it was sort of like a takeoff on Alone. It was basically, we're going to strand a bunch of people individually on an island, give them meager supplies. Whoever lasts the longest wins a cash prize. Despite how much British reality TV might dip in and out of the Survivor of it all, they decided to go a little more Survivor-y with season 6, or series 6, as it were. So they rebranded it to Treasure Island. They had people living together now with, a set of winners now taking away a cash prize. But to put the treasure in Treasure Island, they would also occasionally airdrop cash prizes in the jungle.
Because that's an iconic feature in the great novel Treasure Island, is like all of those airdrops that occur.
Right. Long John Silver had the drones on lock to get those 30 pieces of aid.
Long John Silver.
Yes, exactly. And so there was a little bit of like tabloid attention given to one particular instance where Lord Ivar Mountbatten, who like has attributed all these reality TV things to like this extended midlife crisis, as he puts it. He at one point was out exploring with one of these guys, and they found like 30,000 pounds in cash droppings, and they just like buried it and kept it secret. They did not tell anybody about the money that they had found.
Whoa.
Wow. Okay.
So we know what's going to happen when this guy sees
I hate him.
Look out.
I hate him, I think, now.
Why?
I was really excited to be like, ooh, Lord Ivar Mountbatten could be like an interesting flavor here. And maybe he still will be an interesting flavor here. But Pooya, this dude is a royal. He doesn't need any of that money. And he's burying it and keeping it away from everybody. Like, that's scummy. That's scummy behavior.
See, not that I have Lord money, but who doesn't want more money?
He's got Lord money.
But
He doesn't need more money.
Lord money, more problems. Am I right?
More problems. He doesn't need that. Save that for, like, if he's gonna bury it and unbury it and be like, for the kids, like, sure, maybe, but that's not
he does. Well, listen, he does have 3 daughters, so he could pull that angle with people as well.
For the kids.
Lord Ivar Mountbatten is why we're in the shit we're in today. Greedy ass behavior. Cancel Lord Ivar Mountbatten.
Well,
now,
this is what I will say, though. I didn't think he had this in him. I thought he was about to get dropped into this castle and be like, I don't know what's going on here. Is this the backyard? Like, is this our did we renovate the beach house? Like, what is this castle?
Yeah.
But now, yeah, Mike, he's got a little bit of a gamer in him.
Yeah, not only that, like, he, like, low-key denigrated himself, I guess, not even morally, to Josh's point, but, like, he was on this survival show. Like, he didn't mind going out into the middle of nature and, like, truly slumming it in a manner of ways, because he talked at the time about wanting to not only showcase this new side of himself. It had only been a few years since he had come out. He had this very public divorce and then got married, and his ex-wife actually, like, walked him down the aisle and gave him away. It's actually a very interesting story. Yeah. Well, they also talked about how, like, the ex-wife had said, well, the reason partially why I did it is because I knew at this wedding I was sort of going to be the 500 kilogram elephant in the room, and so, like, let me just make sure we all know that everything's copacetic by being the one to walk him down the aisle. But he said that he wanted to also showcase perhaps the widening of stereotypes for gay men as well, even in 2016, right, a year after the US had legalized gay marriage. And so I don't know if exactly that's the reason why he's coming back now. I think, I don't know, maybe a paycheck or guarantees of more hidden cashola might be the case, but he does seem like someone who, perhaps unlike other members of the royal family that made headlines for being quite, sequestered, cloistered off from the public, Lord Ivar Mountbatten gets his face out there, and how.
I want him to be a traitor. I think this sneaky little booger. I think this guy needs to come out here and start dancing circles around some of these people. I feel like Boston Rob is going to roll up to this castle, and he's not going to know who most of these people are, probably, would be my guess. Like, people in the CBS family, he's going to know. But, like, he's going to look at Lord Ivar Mountbatten, find out that this dude is just like a duke or whatever he is. I guess literally a lord.
Yeah.
And he's just going to be like, hey, you seem all right. Like, I don't think that, like, he's going to have any, like, major radar. Like, I don't think Lord Ivar Mountbatten is going to pop for people. Like, I think they're going to figure, you're not a reality star. You haven't done any of these hijinks. He certainly can keep the island off the grid. Yeah. Like, I don't feel like that's getting mentioned on the show.
No, that could be a bonding point of, like, oh, you were living on an island. Let me tell you about my time.
I lived on an island too. I feel like he'd be fun. I think he'd be good.
I think that he's probably, for me, the number one undetectable traitor if you give him traitor out the gate. I think a lot of people are just going to discount him because everyone else has some kind of a TV presence. Mike, obviously you dug this out and you saw this.
Much like those 30,000 pounds.
They got buried. They did not get dug out, is what I'm hearing. So to me, that would be a great and very good pick from production if they were to give him the traitor role. However, I think if I'm gonna say to both of you, you have to answer, do you think he's a faithful or traitor? I feel like we're gonna all go the same way here.
Yeah, I think, to your point, Pooya, about, now again, I don't know if necessarily they're like, okay, this is the next John Burkow outside of just his nationality.
Right.
But I would also imagine if they are, it'd be an easy way to pigeonhole him in this. Like, oh, imagine him at the round tables, imagine all the times Alan Cummings just going to throw it to him about, like, I bet you're used to living in posh circumstances. Now you have to crawl through the mud to get the shield. And so that feels like something that would be behavior befitting of a traitor. Now, maybe he could have the potential of being recruited later on, but I don't think he would be one of the starting 3. I would imagine that, especially from a US audience perspective, maybe if it was a British audience perspective, they'd be like, oh yeah, wouldn't it be fun if, like, quote unquote one of the most famous people in this cast was a traitor. Arguably, he's one of the least famous people in the American cast. And so I think they would much rather go with the big names early on.
Probably true. Yeah, I think if push comes to shove, I think just for that broader appeal, blend him into the Sea of Faithful. Unless they cast him because they're like, this dude's gonna bring heat. Maybe. And how fun would that be to have him sort of in that pole position when you don't know a thing about this guy and you get to learn his devious ways by having him be a traitor. Could be really fun, but I think it just doesn't track when you have this huge field of people that you can put on here.
Now, look, Pooya, we know age is just a number, but it should be noted that Lord Ivar is the oldest member of this cast. He is 61 years old. I do feel like in the British version, though, they're less discriminatory with the missions of we got to keep around the strong, the people that won't hold us back. Do you think, though, there might be a case for some people as to even from a murder perspective of, okay, well, Lord Ivar might be one of the weaker links, so let's get rid of him early on?
How much older is he than the next person, though? Let me see.
Bob Harper's 58, but also Bob Harper has built a career out of being remarkably in shape. So
yeah, Dorinda's in the 50s, Dolores, Danielle's in the 50s, Tony's 50. I feel I don't think that's going to come into be a factor, or at least I'm hoping it doesn't come into be a factor. And in the very beginning, I don't think they're going to be too focused on that. That could be something later down the line, and that might be something more so that the traitors think about, where they're if we get out Lord Ivar, no one's gonna really bat an eye all that much because they'd probably be happy that we can get more out of the challenges. That could be maybe a thing, but I don't see Lord Ivar getting hit with the ageism tactics here. Hopefully, at least I'm being hopeful. I think.
Should he lie and say he's 45, Josh?
Yes, yeah, I think that's gonna work. And then at the end, be like, today's my birthday. But I'm not turning 46.
Let's end the game. It's my birthday.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be good. That would be a great birthday present for one of these people. I don't think he's going to lie about his age. Is ageism really a big issue on the Traitors?
Not really. But sometimes, depending on who's on the cast, the missions and doing well in the missions does end up being brought up as a factor to keep or get rid of people, usually in the turret.
Got it. Okay. Yeah.
Well, now that we've been acquainted with one Lord Ivar, I have to ask, and I believe, unless someone from this cast was also on that Treasure Island series, I believe he doesn't know anybody coming in. But my question to each of you is, who could you see Lord Ivar bonding with in this manner?
Yeah, I think he might be able to. I mean, he's around some Survivor royalty, right? He's there with.
Yeah, you think Boston Rob could be did they ever build a statue out of your head?
I feel like to go back to the Boston Rob example. I actually do think Boston Rob could get a kick out of this guy. I feel cozying up to British royalty and mocking it feels like a very Boston Rob thing to do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they're friendly. It's hard to know without knowing too much of his personality, who he's really going to jive with. What do you think, Mike?
So I don't know. I don't know how much American television Lord Ivar has watched, but we talk about the reciprocal thing, right? Of nobody's gonna know him. I don't know who he's gonna know either, but not to stereotype the LGBTQ plus community that much, there is a reasonable chance I could see him cleaning out with the Real Housewives. Of if he is obsessed with that show, I could see him really getting along with a Dorinda, with a Dolores, and really being in their pocket.
So this is the last podcast that's going to drop before the premiere, and there was a video that was released. So I'm gonna break the fourth wall. It's the 20th of December. And I'm breaking this fourth wall because I can foresee some people citing a video that went up today in the comments of the other recaps to be actually, they said this and they said that. So only in this podcast can we talk about the fact that a video dropped, gentlemen, and Peacock released a video on YouTube that states, who does the season 3 cast want to see? And they also asked them who they don't want to see. And Lord Ivar when he was asked who does he not want to see, he says, and I'm quoting, the Housewives team, golly, I'm not sure I want to face many of them.
Wow.
Okay, so I was on the money, just in the complete opposite direction.
Yeah.
Well,
we've got what? We've got 3 housewives, right? 4 housewives.
And like, if you want to connect Sierra Miller as well, and also the Bravo extended universe.
Yeah. So yeah, like that could be bad. I guess like now we're wondering like who could he be friends with? Like who's he going to be enemies with? He's starting to build a little bit of a rogues gallery.
Well, I feel like to me, the way I took it was, okay, I think Lord Ivar did some homework, at least watched the US seasons before him. And I feel like this is a measure of, I don't want to be in the crosshairs against the Housewives, but can he bond with them? That's definitely on the table. I don't think he's going to come in with a closed mind of like, nope, I'm not associating. But I think it's kind of like he's going to have them on his radar. So at the very least, Mike, to your point, he's going to notice them. The question is, does he gel with them or not?
That's really interesting. Did everyone say who they wanted to see and who they didn't, or did he just select like people for each question?
So it's like a 3-minute video and it's clearly like stitched up with different people. Gotcha. And so we don't get like everybody's insight. I will say, spoilers, I do have the insights from Dylan Efron, which we'll definitely get into when we get there. But that was the one thing. This is why you needed,
Josh and I have plenty of experience with asking copious amounts of questions and giving every single minute answer, because we knew that people would pour over these things in the preseason as opposed to stitching it together in a 3-minute video.
I do not envy you, lads. I'm out that game. Tough game. Fun game, though.
But tough game.
Tough game.
Okay, now completely disregarding the fact that Lord Ivar said, I don't want to associate with the Housewives. Who could you see, just on a person level, Lord Ivar clashing with in this manner, in this castle?
Boston Rob again. I think it could go that way for sure. Who do you think, Mike? Who looks particularly feisty?
Well, I don't know if it's feistiness. For me, it feels like, despite the fact that Lord Ivar is clearly living a rather unconventional lifestyle as a royal, still think, you could take the silver spoon out of his mouth eventually, but the fact that he was still born with one in it says something. And I wonder, like, how much he'll want to deal with the tomfoolery, particularly from our very lovingly gruesome twosome of Carolyn and Tony, right? These big, major characters who don't necessarily seem to have like a down-to-earth personality, and that's what makes them such good TV characters. Would Lord Ivar put up with their shenanigans? I think is a very good question.
Yeah, but will they of the shenanigans having contingent, will they put up with Lord Ivar Mountbatten's little royal intricacies and oddities? Like, he's gonna be maybe like demanding a different kind of lifestyle that he's used to. Like, he's been in many castles before. He may be talking about how he's a little jaded with this experience. You know who I think is going to hate that? Carolyn. Carolyn will not hold back. Like, Carolyn is going to be that, like, this will be like the Sue Kyle all over again. I hate you, Lord Ivar Mountbatten. Lord Ivar Mountbatten, put my name down.
Do you think he's going to call himself Lord Ivar Mountbatten? Because he had just like when he was out there on the island, I saw a couple clips where he like just said, "Call me Ivar." Is he gonna leave the title out? Is he gonna say not Lord, not Ekin-Su?
This is like one of those like contestants that like has to be a last name type of thing. And like also like those people in your life that everyone has encountered someone who's like your first name, last name. Like
you're talking to one of them, yeah.
Or even on TV. Yeah, Mike, you're Mike Bloom. Like on TV, like you don't call him Jack, you call him Jack Bauer. Like these are they're
unless he's in the Lost Boys.
Unless he's in the Lost Boys. This is Lord Ivar Mountbatten. Like, I think you have to put some respect on it, and I think you got to say the title and the 2 names. Lord Ivar Mountbatten. We're just calling him Ivar. I feel like we're wasting a real opportunity to every single time we talk about him, call him by his full name. Lord Ivar Mountbatten.
See, I feel like both of you have get a similar treatment. I feel like both of you get full named anytime anyone's talking about you.
Yeah.
And Mike Bloom.
Yeah. But that's because we have such an easily, to your point, Pooya, like clippable, almost like monosyllabic, dual syllabic form of our names. It's a little bit tougher to just have Lord Ivar Mountbatten roll off the tip of your tongue. But if there's anyone to do it, it would be Alan Cumming.
For sure. Also, I think I would like to get the predictions. Yes or no? Someone calls him Milord in this season. Yes or no?
Absolutely yes. Absolutely yes.
Now, is the question, is it sincerely or is it sarcastically?
It's probably sarcastic.
It's probably gonna be like hammed up. Sarcastic.
Oh yeah, Brittany Haynes will 100% do it sarcastically.
Well, the way that I could see it going down is he gets murdered in the night, and Alan Cumming, takes his little thing off the wall. Good night, my lord.
Yeah, exactly.
And drops it down. Like, I feel like he'll get the royal treatment on his way out the door. No doubt about it.
We don't have the bagpipes,
Yeah.
but this'll do. And he throws it into the fire.
Yeah. Is Fergus going to be a fan of Lord Ivar Mountbatten?
Well, not to spoil it, Fergus does get name dropped in Who Would You Like to See in that YouTube video. So we'll get into it.
Wow.
But I think Fergus would be pumped. The thing is, I feel like Fergus is about to get outshined because there's a castle cat now.
Yes.
So
is that new to this season? The castle cat?
The cat got its own photo, Josh.
Well, okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a name on the cat?
Yes. I need.
Have you done a cat
it.
preview yet, or no?
This could be the backdoor pilot for the cat preview.
Is this the cat preview right now? Is the cat preview happening?
Pooya, we were
right
previewing
now?
3 cast members.
Wow. Yeah, I didn't realize that we were coming here to talk kitty cats as well.
Yeah, the cat was in the last photo. I'm trying to see if it was in this article that I'm looking at right now. Might be in a different article, but yes, it's not in this article, unfortunately. Mike, how do you not know the cat's name, Mike?
I'm trying to look it up. I'm a dog person.
Okay. Well, first of all, wow.
Mike
Okay.
Bloom, the old dog. That's what I always say to you when I see you in person. I go, "Oh, Mike Bloom."
Oh my God, it's not a cat, it's a dog. My bad. Lala the dog.
That's what I was like. There was a dog. I know that it's Alan Cumming's dog Lala, which has made prominent appearances in previous marketing materials. I didn't know about the cat.
Yeah, no. Lala got their own portrait. 1 second. I'm gonna share this with you.
So no cat at all. Cat's gone.
Cat's gone. Cat's out of the bag.
Which is weird because I feel like, I mean, I guess like it's the Traitors not the ultimate cat versus dog game of like the sly, sinister,
Yeah, the cunning cat that
versus
like
the
time
versus like the kind of doofy, loyal to a fault type.
Yes.
There you go.
Okay. Hi, Lala. Hi, Lala. Come here, Lala. Come here. We got a little podcast treat for you. Oh, Lala. Oh, good Lala. Oh, what a good dog.
Gosh, what did you give Lala?
What a good little dog.
Lala's been poisoned by the chalice.
Yeah. As Alan Cumming rips Lala's portrait off the wall.
Every dog has its day. But not today for Lala.
So long, Lala. You are doggone. The cat could be in the house and no one would know.
That's very true.
As far as we know, like it's Schrodinger's cat inside the Traitors castle.
I mean, honestly, that breakfast period is Schrodinger's cat. You don't know who's alive.
You don't know who's alive. You don't know who's dead. Yeah, that's right.
So the last question I typically ask in these before we move over to Dylan Efron is, what do you see the longevity of Lord Ivar being? And I'm going to ask each of you for an official prediction. So the exercise is, let's pretend the season's 12 episodes. Which episode does Lord Ivar make?
Which episode does he get? Episode 3.
Oh,
I think he'll be early. I think he'll be cut early. He just doesn't know people. It's fun to talk about him, right? We're having a good time, but he doesn't know anyone. So I feel like he's just like an easy pick off the board.
I will go. I think he's endgame material. I don't know. Endgame. I'm going to go like, I'll say 9 right now. Because I think that if we're talking about the Traitors meta, there's a chance that depending on who the Traitors are early on, they'll want to get rid of like the biggest threats and the people that are speaking up the most. I don't know if Lord Ivar will be one of those people, but perhaps to a fate kind of befitting of John Burkow, it'll be eventually, oh, he's on to us, or he's better at this game than we thought initially, given the 0 stuff we knew about him. Let's get rid of him, as one of like the 5th or 6th place finishing faithfuls.
I feel like it's going to go one of 2 ways, because depending on who's up in that turret with the Traitors, if they want an easy kill / somebody who will keep everyone guessing and will keep the paranoia up. I could see Lord Ivar being the first casualty of the game. I really could.
Yeah.
On the flip side, to Mike's point, I think that he's someone who can make it all the way to 10, episode 10, and then get cut because he's the most confirmed faithful. We have to just get rid of him to move on. Unless, obviously, he's a number in the Traitors' pocket. Then it's a different story.
Yeah.
So, yeah. That's Lord Ivar.
I could imagine, like, in another universe, going out to the island and interviewing him for a first one out. Like he does. Yeah. He gives foo.
A little John Lovett vibes.
He's giving foo. Yeah, for sure. For sure.
Well, from foo to oof, let's talk about this next person on the channel.
Relax, baby.
How dare you? From foo to oof. This is an Efron you're talking about here.
This is royalty to elder millennials that grew up watching High School Musical.
Yeah. I never watched High School Musical.
I haven't either.
So, gentlemen, I've got a lot to educate you about.
All right. We're in this together, Mike. I get the references.
All in this together, Pooya.
Well, listen, I said I didn't watch it.
That's like my Psalm 23.
It's Dylan Efron time. Okay.
Dylan, you son of a bitch.
That's going to be him and Lord Ivar as soon as they walk in.
Clasping hands in the middle. What are you doing here, sir? Like, let's start there. Dylan Efron, claim to fame, Zac Efron's brother. You're on the wrong show.
I mean, quite literally, you should be on claim to fame.
Like, what are you doing here?
See, maybe he thought he was supposed to be on there, and he got put on the wrong plane.
A Survivor runner-up, Bravo stars, Big Brother, and Zac Efron's brother. Like, you're not even a lord, you know? Like, at least, like, with the lord, like, you're sort of like bribing your way into the business, right? Like, you squirreled away that secret money so you could buy a spot on the Traitors. Like, what's Dylan Efron doing here? What are you doing here?
Hey, you got to get a start somewhere too, Josh.
This is so weird.
Well, the thing about Dylan Efron is that, you know, obviously the lesser famous of the Efron brothers, but he has had some work happening. And gentlemen, that is when I bring in a little something for the podcast. Listen, this might be the off season of Survivor right now, but I've got the B&B in my heart at all times.
Okay.
I did, of course, some research on Dylan Efron. And I thought, what better way to get to know this man, however long he might last on our screens, than with a game. So I will ask you both, maybe you could work together or separate if you'd like.
Yep.
A quiz about details about Dylan Efron.
Great.
And we'll see how much you know him, basically sight unseen, just purely by looking at the vibes from this picture.
Can we just talk about the picture real quick, though?
Of course.
Like, what are we doing here? Like,
are those stags on his vest?
He's in the picture frame. It looks like he's got a vest, like a gold vest with stags all over it.
Mm-hmm.
Like he's freaking Robert Baratheon's brother over here. And he's got another jacket on top of his jacket.
Yeah,
this like double coating.
Well, this is like if Ace Ventura threw on a jacket because it's cold.
It is. So. He's giving Ace Ventura.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I could imagine him like lowering that frame, turning around, and speaking out of a certain part of his body. Like this is much more Jim Carrey's brother than it is Zac Efron's brother. Ace Ventura's brother I would watch for sure. Anyway, I digress. We have a game, I hear?
Well, we also know how Ace Ventura acts in posh situations. I've seen When Nature Calls enough that I wore out that VHS to know what happens when you put him in those situations.
Is Dylan Efron going to be birthed from a rhino's butt at some point this
We don't know.
You must be the Monopoly guy.
Exactly. He's going to be, like, they're going to hold up the paintings of the fallen people, and Dylan's going to do the shadow puppets on it. Hi-ho, Silver, away!
Dylan Ventura. Let's go.
All right, well, let's get into this. I've got a mind-blowing fact to share with you, gentlemen, to start this one off.
Okay.
Dylan Efron's first name, what was written on his birth certificate, is not Dylan.
Okay.
What is Dylan Efron's real first name? Is it Frederick, Nicholas, Edward, or Charles?
I would have gone with Bob.
Bob Dylan Efron.
Yeah.
Oh, is Dylan the middle name?
Dylan's the middle name, yeah.
So he goes by his middle name. One of those. Okay.
It's Edward. Edward Efron doesn't roll off the tongue like that, I don't think.
Edward, Charles, what were the other two?
Frederick and Nicholas.
Frederick and Nicholas. Nicholas Dylan Efron. Frederick Dylan Efron.
It's
Edward
Frederick or
Dylan
Edward?
Efron. What was the last one?
Charles.
Charles Dylan Efron. You're going Edward, Pooya?
Yeah, it's that or it's A for me.
You have to go Jacob by law, Josh.
I know. I was thinking that he's giving he's got a little sparkle to his skin.
I don't know though. Eddie Efron would roll off the tongue. I'm switching to A. I'm switching up. It's Frederick. It's Frederick. Final answer.
Well, then Freddie Efron rolls off the tongue too. I think that. So which name would you not want to be called?
What year was he born in? Hold on.
Oh, good question.
Yeah.
So he is
32. So he's 92. So about my age. So then, you know
Charles.
what? I'm going back to Edward. He seems like a Twilight hater.
Yeah.
It's Edward.
Charles.
Lock it and see.
Charles, Edward, Frederick, and what was the last one?
Nicholas.
I keep forgetting a different one every time.
I know.
Give me Nicky Efron.
Josh is correct. Nicholas Dylan Harrison Efron. He's a two middle namer.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Wait, what? He has two middle names?
Yes, four names.
Nicholas Dylan Harrison Efron.
What's wrong with Harrison? Why aren't we calling him Harry Efron?
Well, he said that, to your earlier point, actually, his parents were big Bob Dylan fans, which is why he had that middle name in the first place.
Got it. Okay, sure.
And he tells the story that apparently when he was younger, he just couldn't write out the word Nicholas, and so they just kind of stuck with Dylan.
Wow, okay. We pivoted. Hard pivot to Dylan. Does Zac Efron have four names?
Oh, that's a good question.
Can you look that up real quick?
Yeah, sure. Let's see.
Do some research on the pod.
Zachary David Alexander Efron.
Damn.
So
what is it?
Zachary Big Brother 22 legend.
Yeah, exactly. David Alexander. You have a David inside every Zac Efron. There's a David Alexander. That's what I always say.
The reference is lost on me. I did binge season 1 of The Traitors, though.
There you go. All right. Well, so Dylan Efron has collaborated with his brother Zach David Alexander.
Little Nicky
Efron.
over here. Yeah.
Exactly. He collaborated him in the Deep South on a TV
Why do we
show.
keep talking about Little Nicky?
I don't know.
It keeps coming up.
Another broken VHS for me, much like Ace Ventura and When Nature Calls. What is the name of the show that Dylan Efron worked on behind the scenes? Is it Going Green with Zac Efron, Down to Earth with Zac Efron, Reduce, Reuse, Re-Efron, or The World is Round Like a Basketball and I Should Know I'm Zac Efron?
Oh, I think it might be that.
I'm gonna abstain because I actually know this answer. Is like the one thing I knew.
Second one, right?
Dylan.
It's the second
Yeah,
thing?
it's Down to Earth with Zac Efron.
Yeah.
Which is interesting. It was like a docu-series.
Mike, did you write those
For
other
sure he
ones?
did. For sure he
No,
did.
I mean, I for years, Josh, for years, I have been going around all the networks, shamelessly pitching The World is Round Like a Basketball and I Should Know I'm Zac Efron. And
Wow.
it's been thrown in the trash multiple times. These studios don't know gold.
A potential issue with your pitch is at the end, you say you're Zac Efron, but you're not. So like, maybe either have Zac Efron join you on the pitch or stop lying about being Zac Efron when you go to these pitch meetings because they'll figure it out pretty quick.
It's kind of part of the
I don't want to yuck
concept,
your
though.
yum. You do you, boo-boo. Just keep going.
What's interesting, though, is Down to Earth with Zac Efron was a Netflix docuseries that aired 2 seasons that basically had Zachary David Thomas Efron traveling around the world, focusing on all sorts of like sustainable living practices. To get some minor critiques for questionable health advice and pseudoscience, but you know what? Maybe now in a 2024 lens, maybe it's time to bring it back.
Oh no,
Fits right in there.
Oh,
Okay,
no.
He had a producer credit on that.
so he worked behind the camera, and he was in front of the camera, I believe, a couple of times as well. I think Zach was able to finally bring him out. Dylan was very much like, all my expertise is done behind the camera. I'm not necessarily an on-camera personality, which
Bodes great for the Traitors.
Right, exactly.
A real dynamic Dylan, as we call him.
Talking about Dylan's profuse amount of production experience, Dylan has worked on a number of movies on set, which is, of the 4 movies I'm about to list, Dylan Efron has worked on set for 3 of them. You have to name the movie he has not worked on. A Star is Born, Ready Player One, Get Hard, or Jumanji: The Next Level.
Which one was Get Hard again?
That was Will Ferrell and Kevin Hart.
Going to prison.
Yeah. Yeah. Get Hard. I don't see Dylan Efron doing so well in prison. I like his odds.
The question,
I like his odds on the Traitors better than his odds in jail. So I think like even like a fictional prison, I don't like him there. So I'm gonna say that Get Hard is the movie he didn't work on.
All right, Pooya.
I'm gonna go with A. I feel like that movie sticks out compared to the other 3 to me.
A Star is Born.
No, Lord Ivar Mountbatten has more experience in the jungle than Dylan Efron. He did not work on Jumanji: The Next Level.
Bummer.
But he did work on A Star is Born, Ready Player One, and Get Hard, all equally masterpiece films.
Yeah, definitely all of the similar caliber.
So Dylan Efron did a lot of coordination work, but he likes to get his hands dirty sometimes. Dylan Efron has done stunt work.
Oh.
On a series of Disney Plus shows.
Oh.
I will give you 3. You have to guess the one that he did not do the stunt work on. So he's done work on 2 of these.
3 shows. We're picking out the one that he didn't do.
That's correct. Ahsoka, Secret Invasion, The Mandalorian.
Oh.
What's the first show?
It's a Star Wars.
Ahsoka. It's a Star Wars show.
It's a Star Wars. Rosario Dawson.
Mm-hmm.
It's okay. Ahsoka.
I'm gonna go with Secret Invasion.
Yeah. This feels like especially because like the whole point of Secret Invasion is the Skrulls. They're shapeshifters. They're tricksters. They're lying to you. They're traitors.
Skrulls, the ultimate traitors. That's true.
Skrulls, the ultimate traitor. I'll go with Pooya. Secret Invasion.
That is correct.
Yeah, nice. And did we suss out the reasoning why you picked that as one of the options?
No, it was just that I didn't want to pick another Star Wars project for 2023 because I feel like that would be too much splitting hairs of like, well, which Star Wars project did he not work on?
Yeah, well, you, I think, subconsciously told on yourself by picking Secret Invasion.
All right, well.
Mike Bloom is a scroll.
So Dylan Efron, he's a little inked up, gentlemen.
Okay, we were talking tats?
Yeah, Dylan Efron.
Show me your tats.
Okay. He has
that one, Mike.
He has a very noticeable tattoo on his thigh.
Okay.
That has an interesting origin story to it. What is Dylan Efron's thigh tattoo? Is it a raven, the mountains of Nepal, the Amazon River, or an Aztec temple?
One of these is correct.
One of these, yes, is permanently etched into his skin.
A raven, the mountains of Nepal,
the Amazon River,
and the Aztec
Aztec temple.
The mountains of Nepal are so specific that I have to believe it's that. Otherwise, on the other side of this, I'm going to ask you, Mike Bloom, like, the mountains of Nepal? You put that on this list? The mountains of Nepal?
So yeah, what do you think?
I honestly am leaning similarly because I don't think it's going to be a raven unless the reasoning is so fascinating that this becomes the question. How does one get a whole river tattooed?
Yeah, like that is hard. You can't do
that. A lot of real estate on the thigh.
Yeah, but you'd have to like write which river it is. Although no one's gonna look at it and be like, "Yep, that's the one. That's that river." I don't think that's like noticeable like that.
Unless it says like Amazon River.
That's what I'm saying. It's kind of like a map, sketch there. Aztec Temple could be the other one I'm looking at, but I'm gonna rock with Josh on this one. Let's go with B.
Yeah, it was an easy summit for you two. He does indeed have the mountains of Nepal tattooed on his thigh.
Nepal.
So this is the story, as
he must
explains.
have gone and had like a great little adventure.
And so on that note, he said, first, I finished the Boston Marathon, which in and of itself is a humble brag. We'll get into this. This is not part of the quiz. Dylan Efron is like a super athletic guy.
Yeah.
He has run the Boston Marathon under 3 hours multiple times.
Yeah, he has a tattoo of the Boston Marathon on his other thigh.
Exactly. He just, well, because it leads directly into this other story. He finished the Boston Marathon and flew to Nepal the next morning with, of course, Zac Efron. This trip changed my life. We made goals, challenged our perspectives, and sought change. I don't think tattoos need to be symbolic to be art, but this one reminds me to take chances and pursue my passions with everything I've got.
Wow. How often is he looking at that thigh tattoo?
It's a great question. I'm sure every time he's like, why did I get this? What does this mean again?
I feel like he's often sitting down probably when he's looking at that thigh tattoo.
Well, that's the problem. It sounds like he very rarely sits down. I don't think he's a very sedentary man.
Well, how often does one look at their tattoos anyway? Like my one tattoo's on my left calf. Well, I never go like, oh damn, look at that.
No, but like, you know, like you see it, right? Like I'm not saying like you're looking at it or looking for it or like necessarily trying to admire it, but like it's on your arm, you said?
Mine? Left calf.
On your calf. Okay. Well, you're never going to see that. You're never going to see that. You're never going to see that.
All right. Last but not least, much like Alan Cumming himself, Dylan Efron is a dog person.
Okay.
So much so that he has an Instagram account for his dog. What is the name of Nicholas Dylan Harrison Efron's dog?
Oh, God. I'm going to have to ask you all the names 4 times.
Is it Ferdinand?
Great name.
Bowie? Meatloaf?
No.
Or Julius Caesar?
Okay.
Julius Caesar?
Mm-hmm.
I feel like the last 2 names to me ring more to cats than they do to dogs. You know, like I feel like
name a cat Meatloaf.
I feel like people like typically dog names will end up being a lot more straightforward or like a formal name, and then your cats will be called Doodoo McQueen. Like people name their cats weird things.
Yeah.
I think it's Ferdinand, and Ferdinand's a great name for a dog. I'm locking in Ferdinand.
Okay, it's Ferdinand, it's Meatloaf.
Bowie was the second one.
Bowie and Julius Caesar.
What was Bowie?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Like, as in Baba?
Mm-hmm.
Baba Bowie?
Or like a buoy in the water.
Yeah. See, because I actually think like, I'm trying to, like, you know, my cat is named Doug. You know, my cat's named is Douglas. So like, I would name a cat Ferdinand for sure. Having said that, I would 1,000,000% name a cat Meatloaf. Like, what a name. Just like a little Meatloaf.
Yeah, pudgy cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thing about Julius Caesar is
cats don't drool like that.
Cats don't really drool like that. They can. I mean, like when Lolo, my other cat, is waiting for me and I come over to her and I give her scritches for like even like 30 seconds. Within those 30 seconds, she's just like, bleh, and it's just like coming out. She's like, bleh. It's just like a faucet. So they can, but they typically don't. And the dog is more commonly associated with the drool. I'm going to stab the final knife into Julius Caesar, Mike. That's my final answer.
It's Bowie.
It's Bowie.
It's Bowie.
Bowie's not worthy of an Instagram.
I mean, I don't know. Have you seen the Bowie Instagram? It's at Goodboy Bowie. Bowie.
Goodboy Bowie is a pretty decent handle. Okay. Is it Bowie like a ooh spooky, or is it like a?
I mean, to your point, it might be a reference to Baba Bowie. I'm not sure how much of a Stern fan Dylan Efron is, but that is the quiz, and I think we all know everything we need to about Dylan Efron and how this is going to apply to the game of the Traitors.
So he's gonna crush.
So we can now look back at that tape, the video I mentioned that got released today. And when asked who he would like to see in the castle, he said, I'm a big Survivor watcher. I think Rob would be fun just because he's the GOAT.
Oh,
now, this makes a lot of sense. Not to stereotype too much, but I do feel like someone like Dylan would feel like Boston Rob is the best Survivor player.
yeah.
And he's the one who brought up Fergus. I think Dylan has done his homework. I think he knows what's up. I actually just off seeing him for 10 seconds in that video, I've become more excited to see him play the game now than I had before.
Yeah. I don't think it's a hot take anymore to say that Zac Efron rules. Like Rulius Caesar. Like he's picked fun movies. Like he's like, and like there are people who love him from High School Musical as well. I don't want to besmirch that, but like he's then like started making movies that like I've been interested in.
Iron Claw, baby.
You know, he's done a lot of, he's had a lot of really like funny, interesting choices. So like, how far does the apple fall from the tree? I think you would underestimate an Efron at your own peril. So I don't want to do that with Dylan. I don't want to do that with little Nicky. I think that he could go deep into this, and especially like if he's a Boston Rob guy, how far away from being like a Tony and Jeremy guy is he too? Right? Like I think like he'll be thrilled to see like 3 of the biggest winners of recent memory on Survivor.
Now, look, maybe it's just self-serving as to like, let's, provide utility as to why Josh and I have been prattling off about these guys. But I think, much like Lord Ivar, and even more so, I think Dylan Efron's here for the long game. Okay. I just don't see a reason to get rid of him. He does not seem like a particularly vocal guy. Again, he says that he's the much more introverted person compared to his brother, where maybe you would get rid of him sort of like in a Bergie capacity, not Fergus, of like, okay, this guy is like the closest ally of someone who's safe that we can't get rid of. But otherwise, this is a perfect number 1 ally to have. He is incredibly athletic, not to besmirch the rest of the cast, but he might be like the MVP in missions just because, almost like CT last season, he'll be the guy looked at to kind of like hopefully get money for this pot, even though, again, it's still a very odd mechanic that they have in the Traitors. And I just feel like from a strategic perspective, he's not going to stand out that much. Again, he's used to being behind the camera, making shit happen, not in front of it. So that to me is really a very good recipe for success.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe knows a bit like a thing or two about production, and therefore like could he like have an eye for what to watch for with some of this stuff. I think especially like what did Rob end up at? 5 times, 6 times technically on Survivor, right? That's sick, by the way. Tony's done it a few, like 3 times. Jeremy's done it 3 times. Carolyn's done it very recently. Like, I think that the Survivor players that are really good ought to be, if they're not, looking at production. Like, not like for them to spoil shit and break the law, but for their tells, right? Like, what are they following right now? I think like you follow that line, and on the other side of that might be nothing, but sometimes you may hit jackpot. So I think like Dylan knowing like some production ins and outs, I think that could be interesting. Nothing that we would see on screen probably, but just like a testament to like he's comfortable in this environment. Like I think like he can be familiar in this environment.
Yeah, I feel like typically with the Traitors, what happens both inside the castle and a lot outside the castle is people will see the cast, they'll see what show the people were on, and then they will judge how they will perform based on the shows they were on, which I think is very unfair, but it's also a situation where that's perfect because for the viewer, if you judge them like that, then they overperform to what you were expecting because they were on a show that no one really knows about or not really a competitive show. You're impressed. And I think in that manner, it's good because if you get discounted for, don't seem like you're going to be strategic, you're just his brother, whatever. I think that is a huge advantage for someone like Dylan, who clearly, at the very least, has watched Survivor, is a fan of that show. Even if he's like a casual, picks up the basic fundamentals there, I think there's a lot to be said. If he already looks at someone like Rob as the GOAT, I think Rob will take him under his wing. Yeah. And I think that could benefit him.
This is the new Aaron from Deal or No Deal Island.
We talked about that. We talked about that on the Boston Rob one, and I'm pretty sure we talked about Dylan being a potential ally for Rob. So for all the other ones we'll get wrong when people look at this video from Peacock and be like, that's not correct. This one I think we nailed. So yeah.
So that's interesting. So in the future, when we see like Boston Rob invited to Efron family gatherings, then I feel like the universe has truly collapsed in on itself. Like the simulation is finally truly broken for humanity.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that sounds right.
As far as who he didn't want to see in the castle, Dylan said that he felt like he was being set up and he thought maybe a family member or his brother was going to be there.
Really?
So, yeah, he said, I feel like you're setting me up. I was like, is my brother on the show? So he don't want Zach there.
I mean, I'm glad that he has the foresight to be like, why did you pick me and not my brother? On the other hand, isn't that a little bit of shade towards your brother for being like, you would do this reality show. Your career's not going anywhere right now.
Exactly. So it's like one of two things. Either like maybe one of three things. Either Dylan thinks so low of his brother that he thinks that he would deign to debase himself with the Traitors. Dylan may also just not understand that Zach is at a level, at a tier that keeps him several leagues away from being on the Traitors, which would mean to me that he's not going to be terribly good at this. You know, like this is a guy who's like, it's not exactly close to reality. Third option is he's having a little goof. That this is a little bit of a goof answer. Mm-hmm. That this is just like to like, haha, this is funny. Zach, I don't want to see him. And he's like, he's keeping it tight. He doesn't want to say which kinds of people he doesn't like. He doesn't want to reveal that kind of information. He doesn't want anyone to get any kind of sense of like who he wants to see, he says, but who he doesn't want to see. He doesn't want to put that out there because who knows? Who knows what information these Traitors even have access to? So I think he's keeping that tight.
Keeping it close to the chest, unlike the stag-covered shirt that he's wearing in the photo.
That's right. Which he keeps like very far apart from the chest.
Yeah,
it's really arcing out.
I'm not gonna lie. Again, these were two people on this cast that to me, I was like, all right, they're there. I think after talking about them today, I'm excited to see how they perform. I think the fact that to us we're basically blank canvases when it comes to them is almost a good thing because, you know, to take it all back to the beginning of the pod, with the US franchise now basically being a celebrity franchise, it's nice for me to come in and be like, all right, a lot of these people to me are normal because I don't know them like that. And I think Dylan and Lord Ivar are universal. A lot more of the audience is definitely guaranteed to not know about them, which means that we get a little surprise reveal together, which I'm not mad at.
Yeah, that's the thing. As our faithful boss likes to say, and our faithful boss, lowered expectations are the key to happiness. And we saw that as recent as last season, that coming in with just these complete unknowns, they are bound to surprise us in some way. The worst thing would be that they're just like complete nothing burgers and wallflowers. But there's something there for me, for each one of these guys. So I'm excited to see them immediately come out in tonight's premiere and just become the main characters of the season after we preview them.
Let's do it for sure. They're
right.
fun. Who knows? The fact that we know very little about them makes them exciting, right?
Exactly. And we'll get.
I don't know. I don't know about many of these Survivor players' thigh tattoos. I do know Dylan Efron's now.
That's true. We actually know Dylan quite well, intimately, in fact. I'm going to be looking at him all season, looking at his general crotch area, being like, the mountains.
Where's the peak?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, this was a very, very fun podcast, y'all. Thank you so much for coming on. Let's start with you, Josh. Let the people know where they can find you and what projects you have going on.
At Round Howard here on the internet, on Blue Sky. Would love to chat with all of you. So much happening across RHAP. We're in the new year at this moment in time, and it's an exciting time. I know Mike has some exciting things he could talk about. And we've got a really fun year on the We Know Scripted side of things. It's probably revving up pretty soon here. Mike and I are on a little bit of a down the hatch break, but we're going to be back really soon with the second half of season 3 of Battlestar Galactica. But more to the point of the 2025 calendar, we're going to be like in White Lotus, Yellow Jackets, Severance territory any minute now. Really, really fun start to the scripted year here. So excited about all that. Make sure you're subscribed to the We Know Scripted feed. WeKnowScriptedTV.com has all the intel there. RHAP, We Know Scripted TV, wherever you get your podcasts, just search that way. And please subscribe. Tell a friend. It's huge for us. the best thing you could do for any of these podcasts is just hit subscribe. That really helps us with finding new people in our audience, can stretch our arms as wide as Dylan Efron in his cast photo here for the Traitors. So that's the stuff, Pooya. Thanks for having me on for my very first ever Traitors podcast.
Woo!
Of course. Thanks for coming on, and I'm glad you had fun. Mike, I'm gonna need you to keep it tight on this one, but hit us with the projects. And this has nothing to do with you. I know you are a very incredibly accomplished man. I do have a clashing podcast I must attend to.
Pooya,
a clashing podcast. No, I mean, I will also say this is the big off season right now that we're talking between Survivor seasons, Amazing Race is coming up. But the one big thing that I will plug for 2025 is that we have released a brand new podcast for the new year. Even though we are in a bit of a reality TV off season from a CBS perspective, as this show indicates, there's a lot of stuff constantly happening in the world of reality television. And so we have brought up and created, birthed onto the world, if you will, a new podcast for our RHAP, Reality Flash. It is your reality TV breaking news podcast. So whenever there's news that comes about even something like this, right? Like the Traitors cast season, the Traitors US season 4 cast, whenever that gets rumored, whenever that gets like loosely announced, that's a perfect time for me to hop on, talk for like a little bite-sized podcast about what's going on, what you should know, why you should care, and what people are saying about it. So you can check out therealityflash.com to make sure you're subscribed to the audio and video version. Those will, again, pop up whenever we find pieces of breaking news that we feel are worthy of talking about quickly on Reality Flash. And you can follow everything I'm doing at a Mike Bloom type. And Thank you, Pooya, not only for this, but for this entire process. I think it's been a great way to build up hype for this season. Season 2 was so much fun. It has big shoes to fill, but I'm excited for season 3 to really step into those boots.
And a lot of work that you just did, Pooya, just before you have to get into the weekly grind. Congratulations to you for finishing a really fun preseason. A lot of work.
It's been incredible. It's been surreal. I feel like with the Traitors podcast, the more and more I do these, I'm doing stuff that I used to watch Rob do, and I'm doing them for a franchise, which is absolutely surreal. So I do thank y'all for that. And it's been fun. And tonight we start a brand new journey talking about the season in its entirety. So check that out. Premieres at midnight because we got 3 episodes to go through starting 9 p.m. So make sure you're ready for that. And then otherwise, I will be also talking Traitors UK. My co-host will be Annabelle from Traitors AU season 2. So we're going to have UK season 3 coverage for you right here as well. Make sure you check that feed for that. And 90 Day Fiance, Hot Mess Express, waits for nobody. I'll be there every week covering that. You can find me on Twitch, twitch.tv/Pooya. That's where I am when I'm not podcasting. Y'all, thank you so much for this incredible journey. Let's have fun with the Traitors season 3 tonight. I'll catch you at the recap. But until then, take care. Have a good one. Bye.